Hello, beautiful friends and book lovers. I hope that you're all doing well. If you're new here at my channel, I like to read and review thrillers and mysteries. And today I am reviewing The Last Thing He Told Me, which I am categorizing as a suspense thriller. I was borrowing this from a coworker. I don't know why I said it like that. We do like a book swap, maybe like once every 2 months. And she gave me this to read. And I never chose this for my book of the month pick whenever it was with book of the month, because it just didn't really look that great to me or sound that great. And I think at the time I was like over like domestic thrillers, and this really sounded like it was going to be like just heavily focused on like a marriage. And I was like, I don't want to read anything else like that right now. Nope, it's not. It's actually really, really good. If this book ends up sounding really great for you and you haven't read it yet, I have it linked in the description box for you, along with my Goodreads and my Instagram if you'd like to connect with me there. But let's just go ahead and get started. So I am going to do a non-spoiler review for this book, and then a spoiler section for those of us who have read. So I am going to read the inside flap for you. This says, before Owen Michaels disappears, he manages to smuggle a note to his beloved wife of 1 year. Protect her. That's what the note said. Despite her confusion and fear, Hannah Hall knows exactly to whom the note refers. Owen's 16-year-old daughter, Bailey. Bailey, who lost her mother tragically as a child. Bailey, who wants absolutely nothing to do with her new stepmother. As Hannah's increasingly desperate calls to Owen go unanswered, as the FBI arrests Owen's boss, as a U.S. Marshal and federal agents arrive at her home unannounced, Hannah quickly realizes her husband isn't who he said he is, and that Bailey just may hold the key to figuring out Owen's true identity and why he really disappeared. Hannah and Bailey set out to discover the truth, but as they start putting together the pieces of Owen's past, they soon realize they are also building a new future, one neither of them could have anticipated. With its breakneck pacing, dizzying plot twists, and family drama, The Last Thing He Told Me is a riveting mystery, certain to shock you with its final heartbreaking turn. Yeah, I guess that's fair to call it a mystery. I would say it's more like of a suspense thrill, but you know, one of the same. Our main character, Hannah, is like really struggling and trying to make a relationship with her stepdaughter, Bailey. And Bailey wants, it's like the typical teenage, like, oh, my parents are remarried and I'm gonna like hate my new step-parent trope, which like we've all seen before, whether it's in a book or a movie. So that's the, like what's going on. Nothing really new with that. But you feel for her. Like, let me tell you, you're like, man, Hannah, like you jive with her, right? Like right away, you're like, okay, she's a pretty decent character. You could tell that like if she was a real person, like she wouldn't be snobby and has good intentions and everything. So it's like you really want that relationship to foster and like work out for them. I will say I was hooked from the very beginning, and I don't really want to say a whole lot more for the non-spoiler because I don't want to spoil anything. But there's like some pretty exciting stuff that happens within like the first 50 pages. And once this kind of happens, and then as the inside flap said, Hannah is like realizing that Owen is not who he says he is, it picks up, and it is like page after page after page of like a bunch of crazy events happening. And I read this book in like 3 days, which is very quick for me. I will say it's rather short too. 305 pages. So I was aiming for like 100 pages a day, but like with work and our little man, I succeeded. If you're looking for a pretty short thriller that's like very exciting, short scenes, pretty decent character depth, I would recommend this one because I, on my rating scale, am giving this a go get this book now. I had a lot of fun with it, and I am just really, really, really happy that I actually eventually read it, because I'm going to be honest, I would have not ever read this if my friend didn't put it on my desk being like, you are going to love this book. So if you're new here, I will link a playlist up above if you'd like to check out some more of my reviews. I love psychological thrillers, so I'll probably just link that playlist. But like I said, you can find some links to connect with me elsewhere in the description box below. But I am going to be chatting now with some spoilers. Guys. Also, if you're going to comment with a spoiler, please indicate that so people don't get spoiled in the comments. I was so intrigued, and I'm going to be looking at my notes, when Bailey received that bag of money from her dad in her school locker. Like, in my first thought was like, he must have been involved in something shady. Like, if he's leaving her all this money, like something shady is going on, and like my heart just told me he was involved in it. And then around page 50, we enter Grady. And like, I actually wish we had more of Grady in this book. I feel like if the author was going to like lengthen it a little bit, we could have learned a little bit more about his character. I guess it wouldn't be like necessary, especially with like how the book ends and how it wraps up. But I thought he was really intriguing at first. And then I was like, is there going to be a romance between them? And then I was like, wait, no. She loves Owen. And then you can see all of the books that I've been reading. Like, I read The Golden Couple. That's got adultery in it. I read Reckless Girls. That's got adultery in it. So like, clearly my mind was like, oh my gosh, is there going to be like another romance going on? And I'm like, wait, no, maybe we have like a decent protagonist for once. We learn about Carl Conrad. Also, I like hate that name. Like, Carl Conrad, just like, you guys know I love alliteration, but that is not it. Anyways, we learn that like apparently he's invested all of his money in the shop, and like, but then I was like, why would Owen, if this is Owen's true friend, why would he like make him lose all of his money that way? Like, it didn't make sense to me. But then Carl said, just kidding. My wife said that to you because that's what I told her, but really I just lost a lot of money on another girl, which I actually inferred was like someone else that he like got pregnant and like was like now like funding that woman or something. I don't know. He literally was like such a shitty character. See, look, it can't escape adultery even in this book. I do remember thinking like, what the heck happened to Bailey's real mom? I don't know, maybe I would count it as a buddy read. Me and my friend Cass were reading this at the same time, and Cass, if you're watching this, hey. But she and I were kind of like texting a little bit or messaging a little bit about it, and I was like, what the heck happened to his wife? Like, what happened to his first ex-wife? And we were both kind of like, like she was like, I think that there was like, it was mentioned that there was an accident or something, and like, I didn't remember that. But for me, I wrote down in my notes around page 140 is when we learn that his wife died in a car accident. I don't know if that was the first time that it was mentioned in the book. Cass could be right. It may have been mentioned earlier, but I was like, I feel like the author's doing this on purpose to keep us, like guessing, like, did Owen have something to do with his ex-wife's death? That scene when Bailey found out that like Owen was not Owen, and that the mom that she thought was her real mom was also not her real mom. Like, I just felt so sorry for her. Like, I could not imagine like being put in her shoes and seeing that like her dad's been lying to her whole life, and like that's her only parent, like, oh man, my heart just broke for that girl in that scene. Okay, I'm gonna be reading directly from my notes here. I said, so then we find out Owen was married to Bailey's real mom, who was murdered by someone that Owen thought was trying to get back at her father because of how he basically got terrible criminals from doing jail time. I'll be honest, I did get a little frustrated in this book because I felt like the way that the writing was like, how do I word it? Like we were finding out the effect before the cause. Could you tell that I just did a cause and effect unit with my students? That's how it felt though. Like, I remember putting the book down and saying to my husband, like, I'm frustrated because I like this book, but I'm getting like solutions, or I'm getting answers before I like really knew what the problem was, if that makes sense. And I was confused. There was a point where I was like, I just put the book down and I revisited it the next day because I was just getting really annoyed. But like, then we found out about Owen's ex-father-in-law and like all the shady shit that he was in. And then it felt better. But I don't know. I just felt like I felt like the pacing, not the pacing, the order was kind of like off or like a little bit funky in some parts of the book. So that's probably why it's not a 5-star for me. Did I like the ending? Yeah, I did actually. I like that despite how sad it was that Owen truly would do anything for Bailey to keep her safe. The book just like kept reiterating how important Bailey was to Owen. And I like that it just really showed that like even though he had to live his life in solitude to protect her, like of course that's what he was going to do. And I love that Hannah chose Bailey and Bailey eventually chose Hannah. I never thought that Hannah wouldn't choose Bailey. But I didn't know if Bailey would end up choosing Hannah. And I got goosebumps with the last word of this book being mom, how she finally called her mom. And like it was just, it wrapped up their whole like turbulent relationship into one like wonderful ending. I love when a book just like ends, but it's like a great ending. You feel me? Have any gripes with the book? I feel like I didn't really know Hannah. And like obviously the point is that we don't know Owen. So I'm not even going to like include that in the equation. I felt like the character I could envision the most was Bailey, which may be on purpose. But like for Hannah, it mentioned so many times about Hannah's like grandfather. My grandfather this, my grandfather taught me that, my grandfather this. And I know that that's a part of the story that like Bailey didn't have a mom and Hannah didn't really have a mom. Like I understand that. It's just the amount of times the grandfather was like brought up in this book. I was like, okay, like we get it, we get it. I just wanted to like learn a little bit more about Hannah. Like what else do we know about her besides like growing up was tough and like thank God for her grandfather or else she wouldn't be the person she was. You know? Like what else? Like what did was her character ever even described like what she looked like? You know, like I'm such a visual person, so like I really have to visualize someone. And we got that with Bailey. Like, you know, she's this like, you know, punky teens, got the long like purple blackish hair. Hannah, I could not picture if you paid me like $1 million. I wasn't given enough detail for that. You guys may have had enough detail for that. But that's just like a little teeny tiny gripe. I mean, like that's nothing huge, but I really liked it. So I'm so excited that I read this. It is starting my month of March off to a great, great start. I am reading an amazing thriller right now. I'm going to keep it a surprise until like my March wrap up. But if you follow me on Instagram, then you're just going to see it anyways because I'm always posting in my stories like what I'm reading. But yeah, I'm hopeful that I might finally have my first 5-star read of 2022. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye you guys.